How far are you willing to go? For your passions, for your hopes, for your dreams, how much are you willing to lose? For your family, for your friends, for yourself, how many sacrifices are you willing to make? For the junk dog named Joe, the answer was simple. He would go as far as he needed to, lose as much as he could afford to, and sacrifice everything he held on to. In other words, Joe was willing to die for the sake of his dreams. Hell, his passion burned so bright it seemed like death was the ultimate destination for the young boxer. But what then? What happens after he achieves everything he set out to achieve? What happens after all the glory and greatness is his and his alone? The warrior named Joe danced with death. He danced and he danced until he became the greatest dancer the world had ever seen. But this waltz with death would not last forever, and death needed its reward. After all, in his seemingly eternal dance, the warrior had forgotten those that mattered to him the most. And so, death took everything the warrior held dear to him, leaving him lost and hopeless. The warrior became the nomad, who had everything in the world but a place to return to. At first, I thought this anime would be the journey of a boxer aiming for the top, a man searching for greatness, but I couldn't have been further from the truth. This is the story of the greatest boxer in the world looking for a reason to live. This is the journey of a nomad in search of a home. This is Megalobox. To me, Season 1 and 2 of Megalobox are as different from each other as Heaven and Earth, both telling completely different, unique stories about the same man. Season 1 is this powerful, inspiring underdog tale of a stray from the slums, a man whose undying, eternal passion for boxing outshines every obstacle in his way. Season 2, simply named Nomad, is the aftermath of that journey, a story of a champion who fell from grace, losing everything he held dear to him. It's this tale of repenting and realization, of growth and maturity, and it's inspiring for completely different reasons. And I'll be honest, Nomad is the sole reason I'm making this video. After all, this is the story that made me fall in love with Megalobox. Nomad isn't a passionate hype fest or an underdog legacy like Season 1, it's so much more. This is a story of loneliness and family, of despair and hope, of failure and redemption. Nomad touched the very depths of my soul and had me tearing up in almost every single episode. However, Nomad would not hit nearly as hard as it did if its first part didn't exist. And so, in this video, I want to hopefully convince you to give Megalobox a chance, because I can assure you, once you get to the end, you won't forget it. Season 1 of Megalobox is pretty badass, particularly because of its unique twist on the sport of boxing, with the addition of gears. A gear is this robotic device attached to a boxer's arms. Its purpose, to enhance power, speed, and movement, while providing many other advantages. These gears make matches feel not only unique, but faster and more dynamic, resulting in a fresh take on the beloved sport. Not to mention, what makes the show even more exciting is the fact that our main character does not wear a gear during his fights. Our story begins in an underground boxing ring, where a talented boxer named Junk Dog wastes his potential throwing fights to earn a living. His job is to lose fights on purpose so that his sponsors can make money off of the bets in the arena. And no matter how much Junk Dog hates it, it's the only way a stray from the streets could make money while also pursuing his passion. However, Junk Dog desired to be in a ring and experience true boxing. Real boxing with real stakes and real results. Not waste his days throwing fights for gambling gangsters. He wanted to be in a ring such as Megalonia, the world's biggest megaloboxing tournament. And so, by making a risky deal with a ruthless businessman, putting his very life on the line, Junk Dog begins his journey of megaloboxing under a new title and a new name. Gearless Joe, a fighter that goes toe-to-toe with the best boxers in the world without wearing a gear. It's quite literally an underdog story, the journey of a man chasing his dreams while facing the toughest odds. Yet, amongst all the badassery, all the amazing fights, at its core, Megalobox is about hope, purpose, and family. It's about Joe, a young man trying to find himself in this crazy world, while trying to do the impossible every single day. It's about Nanbu, a coach who desperately tries to undo the mistakes he made over the years, trying to carve a new legacy for himself. It's about Sachio, a young orphan who finally finds a family in Joe and Nanbu. And so, Joe, Nanbu, and Sachio join Megalonia as Team Nowhere, a wholesome group of friends that never fails to make me smile. Team Nowhere is an amazing family, always managing to pluck my heartstrings and radiating this energy of hope. Through the toughest of times and the hardest of days, they were always there for each other, which was quite touching. They were the emotional pillar of the story, and I couldn't imagine this tale without a single one of them. However, there is more to Megalobox than just our protagonists. We have Aragaki, a former soldier who lost his legs during a terrifying war, who now returns to boxing as a form of therapy, as a way to find purpose in his life once more. We have Yuri, the world champion who wants nothing more than to free himself from the shackles of corporations and experiments, who wants nothing more than to feel alive in the ring, fighting an opponent he can proudly call his equal. None of these antagonists have evil intentions or criminal goals. Most of these boxers are not bad people. They too stand in this grand ring for the same reason as Joe, to fulfill their dreams. Megalobox Season 1 beautifully explores all of these characters and all of these arcs, weaving a story that is packed with passion and emotion. It's a beautiful journey that resolves in a beautiful way, with all our beloved characters having achieved everything they could have dreamed of. And then, in the blink of an eye, it all falls apart. A melancholic Spanish guitar permeates the room as we see a broken man stumble his way through life. He is a familiar yet strange man with his ragged clothes, shaggy beard, and hopeless eyes. For just a moment, it makes you think, were those eyes ever filled with hope? It makes you think, what the hell happened, Joe? 5 years after Gearless Joe's historic run at Megalonia, we find the people's champion lost and alone, devastated by the death of his coach, Nanbu. Nomad is the tale of a wandering man on a journey to die, of a man who was faced with the harsh realities of life, losing everything he held dear to him. Nomad is a story of unexpected circumstances and hard decisions, of depression and loneliness, of a fallen star who couldn't find the courage to get back up. We watch as our beloved Joe, our inspiring protagonist, stumbles from one underground ring to the next, trying to earn himself enough money to sustain his painkiller addiction. The radiant smile, the glimmering eyes, the blazing gloves are all replaced by this husk of a man. He lives under the guise of Nomad, with his messy hair, deadly eyes, and dirty beard. However, one day, he bumps into a boxer named Chief, an immigrant who recognizes Nomad as the legend named Joe. And then, one day, Joe faints, a side effect of the painkillers he's addicted to. As Chief sees Joe in this sorry state, he takes Joe back to his little village called Casa, a village of immigrants like himself. We find out that Chief is boxing for the sake of these people, for the sake of his home, to earn enough money to buy the land on which they live so that they don't get kicked out for being immigrants. These people live a tough life, particularly Chief, but somehow they pull through, together. Every day a new problem arises, something breaks, something leaks, or someone leaves. However, they never run away from the problem. At the end of the day, regardless of their differences, regardless of their issues, the people of Casa stick together. Nomad is not a boxing story, at least not at its core. This is about a man learning of tradition, purpose, family, and home. Joe believed that he had nothing to live for, but as he meets these immigrants, as he comes to understand what brings them together, he realizes that once he too had a place he could call home. However, if he returned now, in this state, he couldn't bear to face his family, especially after he left them. And that's where Chief comes in, a man with a heart of gold who helps Joe heal from his addiction and his past. Chief is probably my favorite character in Megalobox, this hardworking, humble, and reliable mentor that patiently deals with the self-loathing, lonely Joe. He introduces Joe to the traditions of Casa, gives him a place to stay, and teaches him humility. Chief is the heart and soul of Nomad, a character whose story is inspiring and humbling. And now, allow me a few minutes to share with you my favorite aspect of the story. I want to share with you a beautiful tale called The Hummingbird and the Nomad. The Hummingbird and the Nomad is this children's tale from Chief's homeland, a tale that stands as a metaphor for Joe's entire journey. As the season progresses, we watch as the parallels between Joe and the Nomad in the story become more and more apparent until the very last episode and the very last scene. We hear the story throughout the season at different points in Joe's journey, and each time hits harder than the last. We see Joe grow from the broken man he used to be. We see him face his past and overcome his hurdles, all thanks to Chief and the idea of home. And it's this one little story that gently weaves all of those arcs, all of those emotions into an elegant masterpiece. This one little story is what makes Megalobox Nomad what I can only describe as perfect. When I first watched Megalobox, I thought it was a solid sports anime with its lovable characters and inspiring moments, but it was when I watched Nomad, this tale of a broken man in a broken world, trying his very best to find the little joys in life, that truly touched my heart. It may not be as hype or intense or grand as some of the other sports stories, but it's something that I can deem with complete and utter faith as an emotional masterpiece.